Have you ever felt a fog in your own mind? A slow, creeping confusion that makes you question your own sanity? I did. For 6 months, I thought I was losing myself, that the stress of my job was finally breaking me down. My hands would tremble, my thoughts would scatter like startled birds, and my energy would just vanish. My wife, Clara, would look at me with this pitying, almost condescending sympathy, patting my hand and telling me to just take my medication. The little white pills, prescribed for anxiety, that I took every single morning. The pills that were supposed to be helping me were doing nothing. It wasn't until I found a receipt for a hotel I'd never been to, tucked away in her gym bag, that the fog began to clear and a terrifying, cold clarity took its place. The real sickness wasn't in my mind. It was sleeping in my bed. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The humiliation was a physical thing. It started as a knot in my stomach the moment I saw the name on the receipt, the Peninsula Chicago, a 5-star hotel. The charge was for a deluxe suite, a bottle of champagne, and room service for 2, dated 3 weeks prior. Night Clara told me she was at a work conference in a bland airport hotel out by O'Hare. I remember standing in our pristine, minimalist kitchen on North Clark Street, the sunlight glinting off the stainless steel, feeling the world tilt on its axis. My first thought wasn't anger, but a profound, gut-wrenching shame. I was the fool, the trusting husband, working 60-hour weeks at an architecture firm to pay for this life. While she was living another one entirely, her behavior, which I dismissed as stress, suddenly snapped into focus. The late nights at the office, the phone that was always angled away from me, the sudden obsession with a new, intense spin class. She'd become distant, her affection turning into a performance. "You're just tired, honey," she'd say, her voice smooth as silk, when I'd try to get close. Let's not push it. It was manipulation, a slow and steady campaign to make me feel like the problem. The more I felt unwell, the more distant and cold she became, as if my perceived weakness disgusted her. The villains, her and whoever this was, were wrapped in a cocoon of arrogance, laughing at the clueless husband who was too sick and pathetic to notice. One night, the breakdown I'd been staving off finally hit. I was sitting in my car in a dark parking garage on West Kinsey Street, the city lights of Chicago a blur through my tear-filled eyes. I'd just seen her. I'd followed her from her late-night yoga class to a dimly lit cocktail bar. She walked in and straight to a man sitting at the back. He stood up and they kissed. It's not a friendly peck, but a deep, lingering kiss full of familiarity. He was smug, handsome in a generic way, with a self-satisfied smirk. They laughed, and she touched his arm in a way she hadn't touched me in years. I felt my chest cave in. The air left my lungs. It was a complete and total shattering of the man I thought I was. I sat there for an hour, just shaking. The image of that kiss burned into my mind. But something shifted in that car. The broken pieces of me didn't just lie there. They began to rearrange themselves into something harder, sharper. The next day, I started gathering proof. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop who'd seen it all. It was worth every penny. He got me photos, crystal clear images of Clara and the man, whose name I soon learned was Marcus, checking into hotels, holding hands on the Riverwalk, kissing in his car. But the pie found something else, something that turned my blood to ice. Marcus wasn't a colleague. He wasn't a gym trainer. He was a pharmacist at the very CVS on West Division Street where I filled my prescriptions. The fog in my head wasn't from anxiety. It was a betrayal so deep, so medically sinister, I could barely comprehend it. I took one of my pills and had it tested at an independent lab. The results came back a week later. It was a placebo, sugar and starch. For 6 months, Marcus had been switching my medication. He was not just sleeping with my wife, he was actively participating in my psychological unraveling, making me believe I was falling apart, making it easier for Clara to justify her affair, to paint me as an unstable burden. That's when the strategic part of my mind, the architect, took over. Revenge wouldn't be a messy, emotional outburst. It would be a structure, built brick by brick, with legal and social traps so perfectly laid that they would have no escape. I contacted my lawyer and the state pharmacy board, but I told them to wait for my signal. I also found out Clara had been funneling money from our joint savings into a private account nearly $100,000. The trap was set. The public exposure happened at my firm's annual awards gala, held at the Art Institute of Chicago. It was the biggest night of my career. I was receiving the firm's highest honor. Clara was there, dripping in a new designer dress, playing the role of the proud, supportive wife. Marcus was her plus one, introduced to my colleagues as a family friend. They felt so safe, so untouchable in my world. When I went up to the stage to accept my award, I started my speech by thanking my partners, my mentors. Then I paused. I looked directly at Clara. I also have to thank my wife Clara and her friend Marcus, I said, my voice steady. A spotlight operator I'd paid off swung a light onto their table. Their unique contributions have taught me more about resilience than I ever thought possible. I then projected the PI's photos onto the massive screen behind me. Gasps filled the room. The photos cycled. The hotel check-ins, the kisses, the secret meetings. Then the final slide, the lab report on my medication, with the word placebo in bold red letters, next to a smiling picture of Marcus in his pharmacist's coat. I spoke into the microphone. For 6 months, my wife and her lover, the man who was supposed to be dispensing my medication, had been trying to convince me I was losing my mind. They were wrong. The room was dead silent. Clara's face was a mask of horror. Marcus looked like he was about to be physically ill. My boss and the partners looked at me, then at them, with utter disgust. Security discreetly escorted them out of the building to a chorus of shocked whispers. The next day, the pharmacy board launched a full-scale investigation. Marcus lost his license and faced criminal charges. My divorce lawyer filed, using the proof of adultery and financial fraud, to ensure Clara got nothing. Her friends abandoned her. Her family was ashamed. She was completely and utterly ruined. See her sometimes, a ghost in the city. She works as a waitress in a diner out in the suburbs. The arrogance is gone, replaced by a hollowed-out weariness. She looks older, defeated. I never said another word to her. I didn't have to. The silence was colder than any argument ever could be. My revenge wasn't loud. It was the quiet, complete dismantling of a life, leaving nothing but the haunting echo of what was. Some nights I still feel a phantom fog in my head, a reminder of the man I almost lost,